There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, I am thrilled today to have our guest, Victoria Vina. We're going to go a real short intro. She's here and that kind of thing. But who is she? Who is she? She's phenomenal. I'll say that, and I know you're here. That's all good. Love introducing people, telling them how great they are when they're right there looking at you. It's like, okay, how can you be humble about it? Well, she
Thank
shouldn't be humble about it.
you.
She's she's been involved in this whole racing thing longer than I have, and I think I got you by a couple of years. I've only been around this stuff for about 4 years. She's got 5 years going into it.
Yeah,
Tremendous career potential. A little bit more than that.
almost sits.
6. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to shortchange you on that one. Almost 6 years. I have almost 5. Then we'll try to keep up a little bit in that respect. But the world of junior dragsters I find to be absolutely incredible. Why? Well, one, age group, being a factor in it because they get started real early on that side of it. The skills learned, driving skills, mechanical skills, the soft skills, the communication skills, and everything else that goes along with it. This young lady over here, this race car driver that we have here today, has experienced all of that. And Victoria, I really, really want to thank you for joining us here.
Well, I want to thank you, Brian, for having me. It is such an opportunity to come on here.
Yeah, well, we've got a big special occasion taking place in our area. We have a 32 car field, which is amazing because any other day that we've had the juniors down here, it's been maybe 4, 6 cars. We got them on TV, so that was good. So to have 32 cars come in is really something else. And I'm sure of this because I kind of live in this world. Is like, what really is this? What really is the junior dragsters? I got involved with it. I started announcing it. But a lot of times I can tell you right now, I was talking about the names of the drivers, families, and that was about it. The technical side of it, no. And even how to get started, I gave some really basic information. So let's start there. How do you get started? How did you get started in the world of junior dragsters?
So the way I got started was whenever I was around six, I had the opportunity to get in a junior dragster. And at that time, the age limit was 7, so I couldn't get in right then. So we waited until my birthday, and actually, I think a couple days after my birthday, we went down to our local track one Friday night. And my dad started to learn about a junior dragster because, you can't just jump into this because there's a lot they have to learn on the mechanical side, on the driving side. So we went down one Friday night and just to test and watch. And then we came back the next Friday night and really started to test and get ready for a race coming up. And the first time down the track, I fell in love with it. Like, my mind was set, nothing else. I love this. I want to do this. I was doing cheer at the time. I'm like, I don't care about cheer. I'm doing this. So I fell in love with it like the first time. And I probably did not do good at all, but that doesn't matter. I fell in love with it. I got a lot better. But then we came back actually the next week after that because at our local track, they run almost every week a race or testing. And it was kind of nice for my first race. Not a lot of people get beginner's luck, if you want to say. But for my first race, I won. In the final round, I had to beat a 17-year-old, and I'm a little. He's 10. He's got 10 years on me. I'm a little 7-year-old, out here having fun. But not everybody has that kind of start. But I knew whenever I strapped in that car, I had the biggest smile on my face, and I just fell in love with it and decided that that's what I wanted to do. So then as I got better and better, we started doing social media, and, that kind of took off. And then, I started getting better and we decided to travel more. We decided to upgrade our cars. We went from kind of a, not handmade, but, like a custom type of car now to Mike Boss chassis, which is a nicer type of car, so it kind of just evolved from there.
Kind of just. I love when people use the word just. There's so much that goes into more than, just. And congratulations on that, on such a great start. And continued success as you move through over here. So you're getting in the car. Is that the first thing you do, or there is a classroom setting? Because it's, I saw there's so many hand signals that you have to pay attention to and the structure of it. So is there a classroom to begin, or just get in the car and learn that way?
For me, we talked about, where, like, we didn't really do a burnout, okay? That was our first thing. We just wanted to make it pass down the track. My dad told me where I needed to press the gas, when I needed to press the gas, when I needed to lift off, where I needed to turn. There wasn't really, like a classroom or like a class I had to take. But I did, as I got better, I did go to a actual drag racing class, Roy Hill's drag racing school. And that also helped a lot. I learned quite a few things from Roy. He's a sweet guy. And whenever I first got in the car, there was nothing, and then I got to that, and that helped a lot. And then now I kind of still learning quite a bit. I learned from my mistakes quite a bit too.
Yeah.
But no, I kind of just got in the car and felt around and took off from there.
We're just again. Look, learning by doing, I think is absolutely phenomenal. I've been a big proponent of that, in so many places because we could sit, we could prepare, we could, talk about it, but until you actually do it, it's whatever that thing is, as long as it's in somewhat of a safe or known reality safe, environment, you don't know. You just don't know. And I'd learned that, on my side of things. I'm sitting here announcing this stuff, and I've never been in a car before. Never raced a car, never ever on a drag race thing. I did a circle track thing years and years ago, but only once. It was a spectator drag racing. I probably pissed off that person too, to say I get thinking. So I had a 4-cylinder car. I beat this big ass '57 Chevy. So I'm sure his pit crew that night kind of rubbed it in a little bit. I'm sure your competitor there, the 17-year-old, caught a few words, as that goes. But once you do things, you really get a chance to see, what's going on the whole thing. And as you continue to grow, what's where do you see yourself growing to? Because you're so young. I mean, you got like so many different possibilities here.
There's a lot of possibilities. I'm working on the media side of racing and motorsports, and then I'm in the driver's seat.Hether it's going in a circle track car or I'm in a drag racing. So as I go, I know I want to do something in motorsports, whether it's media, whether it's most likely the driver's position, driver's seat. That's kind of where I want to go. Whether it's pro NHRA pro stock, or pro mod, or I could be running, NASCAR, kind of just see where it goes. I'm starting to get my feet wet in the circle track side and dirt and asphalt. But right now my main focus is drag racing. So we'll just, like you said, I'm young, so I still have quite a while to go and see what opportunities come up as well.
Yeah. We've even seen about us, one of the junior dragster drivers got into a go-kart and
Oh.
and it was amazing. And maybe it's the same kind of thing on your side. And forget the go-kart, whatever the other type of racing it is, but he took to it just like immediately. He just knew it. He's watched a bunch of videos, I was told, before doing it, and he just did it. So are they like transferable skills, or are you just so aware of what's going on all the time? Once you're in the car, you just pick up on things.
It took quite a few laps to learn the circle track and quite a few incidents, I could say, to get that down pat. I needed to turn, not go straight, but I kind of adapted to it pretty quickly. By the time my first race, it took me a couple months after multiple practice sessions, and I would rerun and look at the laps from a GoPro and see what I need to do wrong, where I need to brake more, where I need to lift, where I need to get back on the gas. I kind of adapt to things pretty quickly. That did take me a little bit, but one thing that was kind of helped me a lot, and especially racing with other cars, is reaction time. I have to have reaction time, whether something happens on the junior dragster or something, blows, a motor blow, and reaction time just to leave the starting line. So in the circle track, you have to watch out for other cars, whether they're wrecking, whether they're spinning out. So that definitely helped and played a big part, was because I could avoid a wreck very quickly because I already had that reaction time instilled.
It's interesting. I went to thought about the reaction time being the one thing to consider. As the starts are a little bit different, and it's all rolling starts. They are not standing still starts, but yeah, reaction time, being aware of what's going on. That's great. Which also goes to the whole thing about once you start doing something, you see things from a different point of view. So let's see. So there are a lot of folks in our community that just have no idea what the junior dragsters are all about, or what a lot of the drag racing is about, even the go-karts, that we have now, because we haven't had anything in our area for for something like 20 years or so. So if you were to speak to a parent, you're doing one of your shows, not a race, but you're doing one of the shows that you're at. You have people coming up to you. It's like, what is junior drag racing all about? And if you're speaking to a parent, is there something you would tell them where you feel it would be a benefit to the growth of somebody getting involved in drag racing or motorsports racing at all?
in the drag racing, there is a lot of opportunities because you could either learn how to be a driver, you could be doing social media and taking videos. In drag racing, a lot of the tracks I go to, there could be 20 or more photographers and videographers there. Just the announcer. There's so many opportunities, not only in. Let's just focus on drag racing. There's so many opportunities there. Whether you have to park people, or whether you have to prep the track, driver's seat, the crew chief, there's so many opportunities that you could just get into and do small things. If you don't want to be a driver, you don't have to. You could be taking videos and photos for somebody for a driver. And in motorsports, there's a lot more opportunities. You could be a pit crew for, a NASCAR team or be an announcer. There's so many opportunities in motorsports alone that you could go wherever you wanted to go.
Yeah, so I was looking at it too. We have a permanent motorsports park. It's a small town in and of itself because you've got everything from hospitality to legal department. Besides the inspection services, but just contracts. With everybody across the board and all those other things that you've mentioned. So there's a multitude of opportunities, and by participating, even as a spectator, and just being aware of what's going on. It does open up a world of opportunities. And one interesting one I thought with you is the fact that you've been doing these little short videos. You're on what it's like or what the car is like, the different technical aspects of it. I love that, and I found the one on the parachute to just be absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, it's been fun because a lot of people come up to me and ask, well, what's the parachute for? For us, we don't really run it to slow the car down. It's just for decoration. I took those little answers or those little questions and made small answers. But once you start piecing everything together, it answers so many other questions, well, what's the tag on the parachute? I explained that's just, it holds the parachute together. So that I enjoy doing those because I love to teach, like that. So I can teach them about Junior Dragster, people who don't know about Junior Dragster. So if you want to learn some about that, you can head over to my Facebook page because I have a lot of videos over there. Explaining what certain things are on Junior Dragster, all the way down to my fuel tank, and my tires.
Yeah, but I've had some conversations with people on that whole thing. It's like I was just absolutely amazed all the little details that go into absolutely every aspect of even racing, even prepping the trailer, to go someplace and everything that goes along with that. It really is fascinating, and the amount of careers that are available within that world. Forget about those touching the steering wheel. We'll leave that to you. uh, it's absolutely absolutely immense. So you must have grown, besides getting a little bit older over here, but you must have grown immensely, as you participate in this. Is there any one thing that really surprised you, like being able to do these podcasts, those little things, your teaching ability? Is that you're meeting all kinds of strangers, either in the pit areas, because I think that's great too. All the pit areas are open. Any of the shows you go to. So is anything that's come that you've experienced that kind of surprised you? It's like, wow, I didn't know I could do that.
Yes, and one main thing is really, whenever you're doing this, how I started social media. As a young girl, I was very shy, and I still am. I'm the outgoing type, but I'm not gonna, go out there and do that. But I really opened up. I could really talk to people, whether it's through a camera or on the in person at a track. I really came out of my shell, I guess you could say, where I used to be shy and kind of like this, where now I can open up and talk to people and teach them about this. And I used to be a horrible teacher too, like trying to explain things. As I've gotten better with videos and doing things, it's really come together on its own, where I've learned from my mistakes, whether I said something wrong or mispronounced something. I was able to learn from a lot.
I fall into that category, mispronouncing things, get a few facts wrong every once in a while. You know what? It shows you're real. That's my that's my disclaimer that goes along with it. It shows you're a real person, and living in the moment and talking just as things happen. That becomes real important. One other thing I want to hit on, with the junior dragsters, is like the perception, right? Is it safe or is it a risky thing to put someone who's 7, 8, 9 years old into a car, a dragster car, junior dragster, or whatever, going down a racetrack? What about the safety features that are embedded, in the car besides the helmet?
So my sisters did cheer and soccer. They got more injuries than probably drag racing alone. driving a car is safer than going up and doing cheer or having a possibility of getting knocked in the head with a ball. You know, drag racing is very safe in a junior dragster. You know, as I said, I got in at 7. You know, we probably didn't have the best equipment then, but we made sure I was safe. And if you have the right equipment and you know how to like make sure you're buckled in right, you'll be just fine. It's just you have to have the right stuff to be safe. You know, some people like will skimp on safety gear, you know. Yeah, you need gloves. Yeah, you need a right race suit. But it is actually a very safe sport. You know, a lot of people don't think so, you know, because it's racing, you're going fast, you know. Even whenever you start out at a young age, you're not going that fast, but you just need to make sure you're safe. And, you know, and if you are, you're going to be fine. These
Yeah.
juniors don't tend to, you know, wreck or something unless somebody's really being stupid. And that's what it comes down to because these cars are kind of hard to wreck, you know, unless something like I've never seen something, but unless something completely goes wrong.
Right. I haven't seen it out by us, either, but I was still so impressed, with the safety gear, the race suit, absolutely, the helmet, gloves, all the rest of that stuff.
Race shoes.
Even those uninitiated wouldn't say, but it was the straps. So it's got a full roll cage that's there, right?
Mhm.
And then the straps are short enough that you can't have any extremities go
Yeah.
beyond the roll cage.
Mhm. Yeah. Where with our a lot of people in drag racing will honestly kind of loosen up their belts, you know, and won't do it. But with your arms, especially, a lot of people have gone in ruts sometimes with these where their hands will fly out. So a lot of junior dragsters now, well, actually, you have to have them. They're called arm restraints, which slide on your arm and they lock in so your arms can't go flying. And that's part of the belts where you need to make sure that you're strapped in. Like I said, if you have everything and you're strapped in right and you're safe, you'll be perfectly fine.
Yeah.
These cars aren't very dangerous. They're not dangerous really at all.
Right. And you're sliding along a wall if you want to hit the wall and all the rest of that kind of stuff, and hopefully that, that stuff never happens, but, things do happen and whatever. As long as you got the right safety gear and then the equipment's there, and there's usually the safety safari is what they call it on the NHRA side of things. But there's always safety, this EMS or ambulance, whatever, is there, for that too. So that's not, it's not a big concern, but it is definitely a part, of the whole thing. What
And
really is a big concern is seeing your career grow over the years. So
thank
and I've been watching the videos for a while, as you've been doing them. It's to see that, the podcast, you've guest hosted on a podcast,
you. Yes, sir.
you do your own short videos, you do the public speaking side of things. A little bit more my world. I don't drive any of these cars. I like to talk about everything that's going on. So you'd be great in that area just as well as the driving, and I hope everything works out for you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Websites. Your website, and you've got a Facebook page, and you've got different ways for people to subscribe to
Yeah.
follow along with what you're doing.
Yeah, my website's victoriabeaner.com. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, almost every social media platform. You can just search my name and I'll pop up.
Sounds great. Victoria, thank you so much. Best of luck with everything.
Thank
And I hope to see you at a track one day. And maybe I can work out what we were talking about before, having you back on again with a couple of other people that are furthering their own careers. We'll see what happens over the next few weeks, for that one. Thank you to you, your entire race team, family,
Thank
of
you
course,
for having me. I appreciate it.
everybody else. Have a great day.
You too.